Come in, villagers. You hearing me?
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes the synapses don't fire the way it should.
That
Good
is the
night,
truth.
villagers, and welcome to another edition of the Heights
The
Room.
Heights Room.
Well, we
What's
boy
up,
left
Cutty?
Winston again this week. He deep in
Yeah,
them
man.
exams as usual. But we have some friendly and familiar faces coming in. Well, friendly and familiar to myself and Torian. I don't know about the rest of the populace out there right now. But they will judge. They will see.
There
Oh,
was
Travis,
just
what is he seeing, dog?
man like Canson early tonight.
Boy, cancel. We're rocking back tonight. We have a lot of things going on. So we didn't really push to get any guests and tackle any new topic per se. We are just going to recap some of the topics that were discussed over the last few weeks. And on top of that, we want to just discuss the general things happening in the country right now,
There you
you
go.
know, and check
All
what
my
is really
thing.
going on. So one of the first things we could start talking about is heat to hail. And I don't know if everybody is aware that Trinidad now we having blazing sun on one end of the country, and on the next side now, men
Wait,
say
what you just
they
say
get
there? Hold on
hail.
2 seconds. Hold. You just say hail there? We got some hail in T&D?
Hail again, hail down. They feel we had to come by you in Canada no more,
Ooh.
dog. Just now we go get the snow.
Ooh. Climate change. Greta in on your backside.
Mm, you
So where does hail
understand?
take place? What happened? Give me some more details.
Aruka. So what they're saying is that just so randomly now, I am not the meteorologist and I am not the climate expert, so I'm not sure as to what is the reasoning behind the hail, but this is what happened. In Aruka, we had a situation where the there was like a video like would have been taken by one of the people who experienced it, and they're asking for people to send their videos as well.
Wow.
It was seen in Aruka, Tacarigua, that area. And we are having very high temperatures right now in Arlington. Like it
Yeah, I
extra
actually saw that
heated.
the heat wave
Yeah.
40 plus feels like 40 or something really ridiculous, and I was like, wow, that actually is some real heat.
Yeah. So like midday and thing, if you inside and you went AC down and thing right now is like a real situation. Real heat wave kind of vibe now. But
Mm.
with that brings the extremes, polar extremes. So somehow the hills at a bust down in Aruka, and then when the rain does fall us,
Mm.
it is falling like extremely hard now. Like
Heavy.
and thunderstorm kind of real lightning, real thunder. And then in the next hour is hot sun.
Back to hot sun.
So things getting kind of wild. I mean, as Travis saying there, heat to hail, climate change, and we had to really take stock of what people have been saying for so long about the shift in the climate and
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is
yeah.
what is really the reality now. Because my people is asking me, if I think it hotter now. I mean, like when hotter now, like what this week, there's like hotter
In general.
in general. And I'm like, well, yeah, I find that when I was small to now, like when I was growing up, I didn't necessarily have to have an AC. Now, maybe AC became more common or whatever because of whatever market trends or whatever. But I am pretty sure that now, like I am a person, me and really, you know, overtly bougie. I could handle myself at night without a fan and thing if I have to, you
I
know.
bougie. I need
You
that.
know.
I need that AC.
Well, you live in Canada now, dog. You can't come back here. He's been snowing. We tobogganing and thing also. We when box cats and thing. We
Bucks cat. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tobogganing and thing. But you know, there are points in time now where you cannot really just have a fan on now.
A fan. Yeah,
You
yeah,
cannot
yeah.
have a fan on it blowing hot breeze then. You know what I mean? And that it shows that from my personal just feeling the place is hotter.
Right.
If
Fair
you get
enough.
into the climate science of it,
Now we
is
will
a
leave
whole
that
different
for,
thing.
for the mafia and Greta and Leslie and
And Omar and Faraz and these
yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah. Them veterans in the business. The
So now
climate.
in some more shocking news, more alarming news, the two different teens are missing as in a
Mhm.
matter of today. Right? So just to let people know, maybe try and if you could pull up the picture of
Yeah,
um
one
of the
second.
girls.
Yeah.
There's a Kuva woman missing. Well, one is not a young teen. One is not she's 19, right? Shivani Budu Singh of Ibis Avenue, Calibe. Perseverance Kuva was reported missing by a relative. She was last seen on Monday, 27th September. Today is Wednesday, 29th. This is 8 hours ago. This was released. So we really do hope that she's found and she's safe and that she's returned to her family. Hopefully, it's not a case of anything like running away and all of that. We could only hope that. Well, I mean, then again, you might want to hope is that, and there's not
Well,
anything else.
yeah, I was just about to say
I
that might
mean,
be
I mean that
better
might be
than
the best case
ultimative,
scenario
you
at
know?
this point in time because
Yeah.
and then you scroll down a bit in the news feed and you see it have a next girl missing. A young lady again missing,
Yeah.
and is 11 teen missing. This child, what is this child's name?
This is Shadia Clark of Success Village
And
reported missing
and she's gone missing. When was she reported
on
missing?
last seen on Tuesday.
Right. So it's in Monday, Tuesday. We have two
Two
young
missing
women
young women.
missing. Let's see the face again, Torian. That is,
Right?
yeah, this 14-year-old is child in online school and thing right now. You know what I mean?
Sad.
And yeah, so I mean, we can only hope that these children are returned in to safety to their families. You know,
That is the
I
hope.
mean,
That is the hope. Because that is
nah,
nice. That is
no,
real.
but it's happening all too often now, eh?
Well, it kind of was always happening though, no?
Yeah, that's
Wouldn't you
saying
say?
all too often. It kind of always is a relative word. It was like if it was always hot, it wasn't always hot
True,
like
true,
this. You know
true,
what I
true,
mean?
true, true, true.
It now become a norm that girls go missing, people go missing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't find them. It would be interesting to see the statistics. Maybe we could pull up that today and see what actually is the stats with people who gone missing in Trinidad over the last decade that were never found
Found.
and this kind of thing. I mean, we know people personally, that people in the comments right now who have family members who they lost and they would have never found them and that kind of thing because it's all too common now, and we can only hope that these things could be you know dealt with. But on the flip side now, it have all kind of bacchanal with our COP and the police service, but we'll wait until we get
We'll get into
Ramu
that. Yeah,
for,
yeah,
for
yeah.
that.
The honorable.
um the honorable. So workers beg for wages.
Is this the asphalt folks?
Yeah,
Lake
Lake
Asphalt?
Asphalt.
But they getting money though.
Well, check your boy now. Check your
No
boy son now.
time. There is no time.
That is where it reach. That is where it reach.
Timothy will
Pull
be
in,
proud. You
pull in
know?
we guest Ramu. Tonight we are joined by our good friend, the Honorable Kyron Ramoo. And I think the Honorable could come in at this point in time. The Honorable, good night.
Good night, good evening to the Heights Room team and all our loyal viewers and guests.
Yes.
Boy. Well, you see no going on here, Ramu. Your boys on them on their knees. Drum roll, please. Your
Timo
boys on
will
them
be
on their
proud.
knees and they get but Heady Heights, right?
Right.
Your boys on them on their knees. Hours after workers of Lake Asphalt,
That's it,
Trinidad and
bro.
Tobago went down on their knees and begged for their salaries. Go down on your knees and tell me you love me. Right? Their
Yeah, have
prayers
some
were
more.
answered. In a release, the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries stated that it has urgently sought and obtained cabinet approval to provide a subvention to assist the company with payment of expenses, including wages. In addition, the ministry's personnel also communicated with the finance ministry to prioritize the subvention payment because these workers, they haven't been paid a salary in 5 weeks.
That's crazy, yo. That's real crazy.
They're on their knees, they're begging, right? They say, we want
I
we
don't
salary,
know.
please,
Lake
with this.
Asphalt. Lake Asphalt is a private company.
State company.
It's a state company. Right. Okay. Let's make
And
sure.
a lot of people asking questions when last Lake Ashford make a profit. And for some reason, we
Really?
don't get answers about that at all. And people also commenting, these workers on their knees. If Butler resurrect now, if you go in and catch Butler on his knees begging for anything, he might just burn down the place because Butler wasn't taking,
Yeah,
not going to
Yes,
no
man.
deeds with nobody.
yeah, taking that.
Yes,
So, but
yes, man.
but I mean, we gotta understand too that this is a state of emergency we are in, and if
Right.
these fellas wasn't on their knees begging and playing bad, is some battle go pass, right?
Well,
I mean,
maybe.
no, I don't know if it would, but if a man beat a man, bludgeon him in the streets today as a police, that you're in your rights right now because that's a state of emergency. and during a state of emergency, the police powers are heightened. So if a person wants to, carry on and get on wild and burn tire and thing, they could collect a hard battle and end up in the general, and nobody can get in trouble for that. You understand? I mean, it's happening on a normal basis. Who is yet for right now? You understand? So I find it was even shocking that these men come out in the group and went on their knees and get together and thing. What's that, right?
I said desperate time, desperate measures,
And I bet it's kind of a tactic too, because they don't want to, as you mentioned, these emergency powers, and you don't want to antagonize the police, and you don't want to end up, as I say, getting licks in front of everybody. And then persons will say, well, look, is them workers, they're not, look, emergency in effect, they know they're not supposed to be protesting, not doing these things, and look how they're coming out. So I think upon second thought, probably going on your knees a bit is a good way of getting that sympathy from the public.
Yeah.
They was tactical with the movements then.
On the flip side, here the next kind of tactics here. Tutor call for blackout. Tomorrow, there will be teachers blacking out, which means you go on your online school tomorrow, you ain't finding them, partner. You ain't finding them.
But free period.
Operation Blackout. Teachers urge to down devices as protest looms. So this is a pre-protest rest and reflection. Take your time and blackout. So, what we're going to see happening here is that...
So the question is, are you taking part in the blackout, partner?
I mean, at the end of the day, the union calls for action, and I'm a member of the union.
There you go.
So, no more. Right? Right?
Union calls, no problem.
Yeah, the union calls. I mean, let's understand why.
Yes, that's why.
Why? People want to know why.
Because they weren't consulted on the whole rollout of online learning and all them kind of thing.
Yeah, lack of consultation is definitely one of the things. Now, you see, the logistics of running a school in this time and the reopening of schools would call for a lot of consultation. You understand? Because there are things that, okay, let me say, for example, you're saying that how children who only vaccinated coming out to school from October 4th, which is Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Right? And when you look at that now, if a child does show up at the school, what you do? You send them, and they're not vaccinated. What are you doing? You sending them away?
Well, that is the question.
What are you doing? There's a thing called duty of charge, duty of care, right? It is in the code that the teacher cannot do that now. So now with the conflicting duties, how do we handle the situations? There's no consultation. I'm just showing a simple scenario that could take place. And this is why, the union would call, and that's just one random thing. The union would call for consultation on how do we deal with. Now, there are parents who are also going to look to protest, because this thing with no vaccine, no schooling, it ain't going down well with people. Just like how the vaccine pass, that they're going to go on the 11th to go in the cinema and to go and eat a little food and thing. You have to have a vaccine. Some people ain't on that, right? Because not everybody on the vaccine. So it's a very difficult situation. But besides that, there has also been a lack of consultation across the board when it comes to the union. And this is commonplace. So people might say, well, why exactly teachers doing what they're doing? There are many reasons for that, and people will look at it and say, well, it's just because school going to open, they don't want to go to school. But it's a lot more than that.
But
another question is, how exactly parents going to protest with emergency powers active at this moment?
Very true.
That's the thing. That's the thing. So that's we waiting to see what's going to happen, because they're talking about it.
Well, they're probably
Mhm.
All right.
thinking if Lake Ashford could protest, they might go down on their knees too same way. You never know.
In front of the schools, that
In
might
front of the
be.
school, in front of TV station. Who knows? I saw something the other day talking about schools and children going to school. I think it was on Facebook, that this child, uh, taxis raised prices or maxis raised prices, and because of that price increase, he unable to come to school now, and he just lost now because just prices high, things hard for everybody right now, and it's just a struggle. So to see, will they get that sympathy? Will teachers get that sympathy from the public when like as a parent, you had to stay home now and everybody's struggling?
It's when I say the ideal thing, well, we far from the ideal thing for a long while now, and the solutions cannot come without everybody who's a stakeholder and who has a valid point. If they cannot be part of the conversation, then you cannot come up with proper solutions, partner. But
Mhm.
again, it does have the culture and the bad blood that is, and the increments that owe in and so on, that that will cause certain things to not be able to be talked about in a productive manner, right?
As usual.
And this is how people are taking different steps now to do their protests and so on. So there's virtual protests, there's going on your knees, and then there's the SOE and everything. We're trying to get solutions to things, but keeping with education, there's a certain narrative that you would hear when it comes to the SEA exam, which recently we got the results of. So everybody in Form One, as of I think that basically a week, 2 weeks now, everybody went back into their Form Ones because Form Ones didn't start school in September, right? So now you have all these little children, getting into their new school online, albeit. But
Yeah.
rewind a few weeks, people getting the results, people jumping for joy, people crying, and we all know about it. We all went through the common entrance and SEA process, and a lot of people are raising their voices and saying that it's time to do away with the SEA process. You understand what I'm saying? And there's again, that's a problem. How do you come up with a solution? Because the education system, is one which
It's
is
based
built
around that.
is built on competitiveness at a young age, getting into a prestige school, the stigma of the schools that are not prestige, as opposed to the stigma of schools that are prestige, right? It's
Right.
again not ideal, but we have been far from ideal since time in memoriam. And it begs to question what can really, really be said. So, you know, people are saying that it is like a way of streamlining kids from a very young age before they even know themselves properly and stigmatizing them. And now you have children who have not even blossomed in their learning properly, and they are put into these institutions which for whatever reason are labeled institutions that are not good, and they have non ideal um, circumstances. And to talk about this a little more, we want to call on another guest we reached out to today, and this is my brother in education, Mr. Emmanuel Singh. Mr. Emmanuel Singh has been a teacher. Manny, how long a teacher now?
20 years, bro.
Yeah, 20. I'm in yeah, 20.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Well, you're out there long a good while. So, Manny, good night. How
good
everything
night.
on your end of the woods? Everything safe? Any hail it on your roof and thing?
No hail in south.
Mm-hmm. Right now,
No,
Manny.
no forms of hail. Hmm.
Man, but all hail money, right?
Yeah.
No, but all hail money.
Okay.
So money. When you think about the SCA exam and you think about the different views on it, the importance of it, the need for it, the need to get rid of it. What is some of the things that you would think about when you dealt with that question? And people might ask you, what's the point of it?
Yeah. Well, good night, everyone. Yeah. Well, as an educator, I guess it really seems cruel
Cool.
to some students, of course, and this is a system we have had for a while. So I want to make it clear I'm not criticizing the government or anything like that, right?
Yeah.
You know,
No,
I
but we're
want
talking about it
Gary to
from a
come and look for me now.
perspective.
You know?
What's
I
your
don't want
perspective?
Gary.
No, Gary, I covered it for you. What
He's a
like okay,
civilian now.
yeah, as a as a civilian, as a human, because it's already is
Yeah.
a certain humanity we had to think about with these children, eh? When you think about it
Yeah.
and what the children going through, all of us went through it. We all
Yeah, it's
remember the kind of pressure.
yeah, emotional
It was
trauma.
stressful.
It's emotional
Mhm.
trauma,
It was stressful. I do
right?
remember that. It was. I think we
It's
ended
a
up going
lot of
Pizza Hut
stress.
after though.
Yeah,
It's
well,
a lot
that's
Everybody
the
of
went
thing
Pizza
now.
Hut after. That was the thing, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of emotional trauma for the children at that tender age. I mean, exams are a part of life, you know, but at that tender age, it really seems traumatic. It really is traumatic to students, and I've witnessed students bawling and crying and so on. You know, I've seen that
Oh,
firsthand. You know,
no, well, yeah, that is normal. That is part of the thing. Are you saying bawling and crying after the exam or after the results?
after the results, yes, I've
Oh,
seen that.
correct, correct,
Yeah,
correct. That's what we know, but we know that it is jumping for joy and
yeah,
it's bawling and crying. And that's why you're putting these little children through.
yeah.
But why? Manny, why are we putting them through it? What's the reasoning for it?
Well, we have to fill these school places. We have to place the children, and we have to know where which school to put them in. It seems
Yeah, and that's
so that's the
because of
basis.
a culture in the education. Ramu,
Yeah.
Yeah,
chime in.
yeah, Manny. Quick question. What I've noticed every year when there's SEA results that a lot of persons tend to bash the prestige schools. That oh, there's the prestige schools, the 20% and the Concord Act, and you have that whole argument going on for about 2, 3 weeks. And then the other side of that argument is listen, the prestige schools must be doing something right. It's just the other schools have to buck up. Where are you in that argument? Do you think it's fair that prestige schools getting this unnecessary bashing?
Well, I don't think any bashing is necessary. But we would agree that the students who get into the prestige schools they come in with a higher mark, and we believe that that is a sign of intelligence, and they are brighter, as it were, than the other students. But and but what we have seen is that the narrative has been changing, and especially this year, the narrative has changed when we look at the students who have been recognized. Okay, the students who have been recognized, a total of 17 students were recognized. I know in the past we had top 100 and top 200,
Yeah.
simply
Mm-hmm.
based on meritocracy, right? But this year, 8 students were recognized for being the top 8, and
Hmm.
then nine is more than 8, right? 9 were recognized for being successful, were recognized not necessarily for scoring high, but for performing what they call it is a student from a school with a high scoring student from a school with improved academic performance.
So they're
Ah.
looking at the children performance throughout
Yes,
their continual assessment, and then they're
so
looking
like
at how
what
they did for.
Carter said at the start, the narrative. So every year we hear the same story, and if you read
Right.
a columnist today, it will sound like a columnist 20 years ago, right? But
Correct.
because they only focus on the trauma that the kids go through, which is a serious thing. But now the ministry, of course, they are trying to change the narrative, and the media as well is the media is doing the same, because I saw one parent lifting up their child and celebrating, and the school that the student passed for wasn't a traditional first choice school. So the narrative, they are trying to change the narrative. Okay,
Yes. So
and so like
yeah,
so in this way, in this regard, um to
Torian,
the
pull
yeah,
up the article that it says Malika makes Granny
right,
proud. Malika makes
right.
Granny proud. And that's a very, very interesting article. I am a proud grandmother, and this child, this is what school, man. This
Mm.
is Old Tech. No,
No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
sure.
That is Marabella government. That's the school. That's my the neighborhood school. That school is two
Okay.
houses away from me.
All right, all right. I was wondering if that was the child already
No,
in her Old Tech uniform because it's the same kind
right.
of
Yeah, you can pull
thing.
it up,
Like,
but you
I
can
get
pull it up,
confused
but
there.
Yeah, so in that regard, that student, Milka Redhead,
Mhm.
she was honored because she
That's the third
performed
article to
well
run.
Hold on,
from
hold on.
from a from a government primary school. She performed well
Mm-hmm.
and she was recognized. And why is she important? Right? Why is she important for our discussion in terms of the change in narrative? Is that she is a success story. Okay, she is not one of the top performers, or top 10 or top 100, as the case may be. She is a success story, and the ministry has recognized that. No, she wasn't successful last year, so she wasn't placed in a school at all.
Hmm.
Right. So this year she was successful and she was placed in a school in at Gasperlo Secondary.
Right, that was composite
Okay.
back in the day, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was composite back in the day.
Right.
And what this news report mentioned is that her grandparents took her in and gave her a place to stay and a place to study, a
Right.
place where she could study online and have her classes and so on. Not much mention was made of the actual parents for obvious reasons, because you don't want to put out anything that may be embarrassing to the parents or the home situation or whatever it is, right?
Right,
Right.
right.
So we congratulate her. But what I find most interesting is the change in narrative, yes, right? But also one of the things people put forward, like Yadav said, is that we should and Torian, we should raise the standard of other schools, and Kyron, we should raise the standard of other schools. So they bash the prestige school, and then they say we should raise the standard of the other schools. So
Well,
in this report, right? This report says that the change that took place wasn't the school and it wasn't the teacher. The change that took place for her success was a change in the home environment.
Right. Right.
Right.
That was the variable. So when people say we need to raise the standard of other schools, I want to know we need to know exactly what they mean. If they say we should police the teachers and make sure the teachers teach, they should come out and say that. But to say you should raise the standard in other schools, um, is not a good enough.
it's broad.
It's too
It's
broad because
vague.
it's too
Yeah.
broad because
Yeah.
all these schools, they have facilities, they have equipment, they have books, they have libraries, they have internet, and all these schools have highly qualified teachers, right?
Right.
But it's not that one the teacher in a rural school is less qualified than a teacher in
Right.
a city school. It's not that situation. So I
Right.
think a lot of people, our critics, are very harsh when they bash the prestige school, the so-called prestige schools, and then of course they say that the other schools, the teachers not teaching, or they need to improve, or they need to buck up. So it's very very harsh. And this article is a good example that shows that the variable was the home environment. It was the same teacher, was the same school. Yes, she
Mm-hmm.
repeated. So this is an example of a situation where the home environment plays a great role.
Well,
We have
right,
an
and that's what
interesting
Canson is
question.
asking there.
Yeah.
Is there a stratification and link between a school's prestige and the household stability of the student, in your opinion? And it will factor in certain regards, because at the end of the day, too, we do know that how certain resources allow for certain students to achieve and certain environment. So environment, as Manny said, and resources. And then, you're looking at stability. Stability comes from attitude, it comes from finances. So you will find that in certain schools, you would have a lot of people from a certain bracket, economic bracket, as compared to others. But it isn't absolute. But if you watch the average, and the question begs, how do we treat it? And it could never be police and teachers alone, and it has to do with environment. It has to do with a multifaceted approach to how we could help the entire system. Now, people saying zone children, right? Zone children. Um, but we all know that not going to work, because for so long we have had this system which has produced, it has allowed for certain students that achieve a certain level of accolade throughout their academic career. But we also, when it comes to prestige schools, we know how they churn out a certain level of students. They churn out these students. They go to these universities. They go and they go do these big things. But averages count, and that's that. But there are children from the pressure schools who don't do those things, and there are children from the junior sex and so on who go on to do great things. So again, it's a numbers game where we're looking at, okay, that's okay, just because you don't have as much children in the junior sec doing these things, is it that they are unable? Is it that there's their inability for children to achieve? No, there isn't. It's a lot more complicated than just the thing saying, well, you need to send children in all these schools, make all these schools better, how to make it better. It's so much, because when you look at a school that is prestige and you look at how they are able to run. Pressure schools are usually board schools, not so?
Correct.
Right.
When there's a board school, right, you're not getting as much money from the government, right?
Right.
So then it comes down to PTA and other stakeholders. And people
Right.
have a closer tie to the brand. People want to give back to the school more. People want to get involved and send it. And then it's the whole thing with the continue. I want my child go to that school. So people invested in that school. It's a whole community approach.
Yeah,
right?
but maybe the zoning might help equalize that.
But here's another
Well,
thing.
zoning
Yeah.
takes place. Zoning takes place for the kids who do not perform. So we have zoning, but what
Right,
you're
no, but
saying is that
zone
we
for
should have
everybody.
zoning for everybody.
Yeah.
And
Ramoo,
another thing to consider, I don't know if Cutter, you noticed it, I don't know if it's just me. I think we're starting to see a proliferation of private schools. So where persons are saying, well, all right, well, I'm not going to send my student to X school. I send the private school one time. So that is like another division stratification right there.
At the primary school level too, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just
Not
about to
only-
say that was my next question, because I obviously not interested in that. When you say you're seeing an increase in private school, on what level? On all levels?
Kindergarten is always private.
Secondary, yes.
Well, yeah, you'll get that. That was a norm.
Yeah,
for
you had the
sure.
ones that run through the whole system. You could drop a child in our first year, and they're going up
Yeah.
straight to Form 6 in our private
Yeah.
schools. Some of these private schools now.
Mhm.
Now the thing is, Torian, let me ask you this: is there any kind of inkling of there are schools within, like, high schools and things that are known for certain types of students, like where this one is a more art school, or this one
Yeah.
kind of have more gifted children, it's kind of go this one, but it's not like it's a big deal, because it's like if you're going and get a death sentence, so go to anyone. Is there anything like that? Tell me if I'm mistaken there.
So you have schools that do have, honestly, like, it's not specialization, but like as you say, there are schools that art schools, but the thing is, the art
And these are
is not
high schools, right?
These are high school. Art is not like frowned upon now. So for somebody to go to art school up here, that is encouraged trend. If you go to something, they'll put you there no matter
But
what
in
it
that
is.
art school, they're doing math and everything too normal, like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
else.
still have to follow the
And
school
isn't there some
curriculum
schools
and
that are looked
whatever.
at for like you know that how Dicey High School where the brightest children kind of go? Not well, somewhat.
I don't think so, because here is a real zoning, so you can't really go too far outside the school.
Yeah, they
unless
be in
you
a
change the
district.
address.
Yeah, they be in district.
You have to be in
Yeah,
the
but
district.
yes. But within your district now, and it'll have the school that known more for the art, and the school that known more for this kind of thing, and the school
Not
that known more for this
necessarily.
kind
Not
So
necessarily.
then what is the art school about?
That is a real specific kind of school that I think the TDSB, which is the Toronto District School Board, kind of funnel money into specifics, because that what I say. The focus up here is like all wrong students. So it's like, if you show a tendency for this, well, yes, you can attend this school. But in generally,
You show a
But
tendency
Table
for
and
it.
High School wasn't labeled. Table and High School wasn't labeled a satellite school for the arts or something like that.
No, what I'm saying is that
They had a big sign at the front of the school. Like,
yeah, like it'll have this. You see, we not acknowledging in Trinidad that there's that within Sando, if you zone people in Sando, right? At the end of the day, you're still going to have the situation where there's it's kind of strange too, because when you look at the city of San Fernando and the schools are in around San Fernando,
Prestige.
and yeah, but then
Yeah,
it has some that aren't and like right in around San Fernando,
Right.
and it's worlds apart. So if
yeah,
it,
but
and they say
that go
the
change as time
equalizer
go
should
go,
be right? So the equalizer should be that everybody should just go to anybody. How we know how we zoning? So it's just a random thing in Sando.
It's
Like
by
just send.
district. It's by district. Or like
By district,
if
yeah.
you live within a certain range, you go to
Mhm.
school.
But they
Right? It
have
have
to
to
have
be
the
school.
schools. They have to have the schools
That's
for the population.
exactly that is the
That's the
thing.
thing.
You have to have the school. You can't have it
Have to
all in
have the
this one
schools.
cluster.
Yeah.
Exactly, as they say, it had to be spread out. So some the government or whatever have to like reassess where they're putting these investments in terms
No,
of
our primary schools, we have like close to 500 primary schools, right? In Trinidad, right? Around that, right? And they are community schools, and high schools should be something like that. We shouldn't have to go far to go to
far.
high
Yeah,
school.
I agree
Now
with
look
that.
at what Kerry said about Kuvasek. Kuvasek is prestige in that aspect
In
because Kuvasek is a secondary school, like the normal Kuva secondary, Gatwell secondary, what would have looked at as just government schools, they're not prestige, but they're known. And then for to a certain degree, Modsec was all school. People want to go to Modsec, and the people put Modsec as a
Mhm.
high choice,
Yeah,
right? Because the school has developed a certain reputation.
right.
Right.
And the problem is that how this is where what schooling has become in Trinidad, that these reputations tied to across the board. So I
But
think
the,
that's how. Yeah.
but,
Talk there,
yeah,
Ram.
but do you think the population would accept zoning? Because there are some persons would
Nah.
say, listen, my child, right, I want you to go Naprima Girls or Naprima Boys or presentation or whatever. I'm not going to allow my child to get zone or whatever. So if I have to find my way, even bribe to get my child in the school, I'll do it.
Yeah,
Let
for
me tell
sure,
you
Ram.
all this something.
Parents
Nobody
subscribe
ain't taking
to
that.
Let
Nobody
me
ain't
tell you
taking
something,
this.
right?
that. Mhm.
Now, don't mind you have good teachers all over,
Right,
right? A lot of schools are run down in Trinidad.
right.
It's a lot of schools that don't need to be run down, right?
Mhm.
And they working on real bare resources, especially in this time of economic tightening that happened in the last decade or so in Trinidad. There are schools that teachers walk out because the situations that they're working under and thing very poor and thing, and that do happen in certain schools. A school like Cuba, second, so on, that's not going to happen because of the machinery that going on with that school. So it's a management thing. It comes from top come down, and I mean there's no quick fix for the situation, right? um
So
so i would say let's move on to our other topics just after hearing everybody last thought on this. We could probably do a full episode, Manny, and you could reach out to some people because I know you
Yeah.
have the network, and we could go deep into this topic because it's something definitely that could be fleshed out. But my thing is that how, given the reality of the societal, um how to put it, our society is stratified in many ways. More societies are,
Yeah.
right? And that's a fact. And we have been running on a system that plays into that. Sadly, we cannot, in no quick means, turn it around and expect it to work because it wouldn't happen just so. There needs to be some kind of way in which we can still keep a sense of, okay, now Prima College and these board schools being the presentations and the convents and so on, they have their license to do what they have to do with their 20% and whatnot.
Right.
Maybe it is that they have to move towards less funding from the government and move more with their own private funding and so on. Maybe inject more, whatever it be. That's how if a child doesn't get to go to the prestige school, it's not a big deal. You
that's
know
it.
what I mean? It has to be that it's not a big deal, but that is very hard to really put into practice. But I don't think we could just say, well, every school should just have anybody just go, because that just wouldn't happen next year anytime soon now. But we could work on making sure that when children go to certain schools, checks and balances. Because I'm telling you, if it is you going into a school that looking like it ain't nothing changed in the school since it built, whose fault is that? Whose fault
True.
is that?
Well, my suggestion to Dr. James, and he published he quoted me in his article last week, right? Um, I told him, well, of course, I was being satirical, of course. I told him that we should make the C exam optional. Who wants to write it, and who don't want to write it, be zone, because most students are zoned anyhow. So what's the
Okay,
point
that was my
of
question.
why
So
you're including 20,000 children in an exam and only 1,000, 2,000 will have this are going to celebrate?
what's the point?
Yeah. What's the point? You are traumatizing the next 19,000.
So then why have it at all then? If you're gonna if you're
Right. Well.
saying that, or are you saying stop C
Mhm.
altogether, in your opinion?
Well, I think I think that I think
we will,
that
I think Manny will be able to flesh out what it is you really want to say when we had that special episode.
a special
Um,
episode. No,
Barack, but
in the current
yeah,
form, in the
Well,
current form, I think that because of the trauma to students
it's
at
not
that
working.
age, we need to deal with that. We
it's
need to
not
deal with
right.
that
It's not
because
right.
all the articles and all the reports and all the psychologist reports say that people carry this trauma throughout their lives into adulthood and so on. It's a serious thing.
True, true, true.
It's a
Yeah,
very
because
very serious thing.
they fit into a stereotype. Is that,
Yes,
yeah, well, I wasn't able to pass for my first choice, second choice. I passed for my last choice. It's like a big deal. you know
Mm-hmm.
Kerry is saying, why are parents from government schools not stepping it up if they were to contribute and all that? That is a whole next thing, because you're not supposed to ask, you're not supposed to even ask people to give no money for nothing in government schools. Because then there's a whole other thing they just bring up. No teacher should be asking trying to contribute to certain things, because then they don't know how to monitor that, and it's all kind of thing. There needs to be, again, consultation across the board to really figure out how to stop the stupidness that has been going on in some of these institutions. But again, we will
That's a
come to that.
whole
Yeah,
episode. Yeah,
yeah, that's a
because
whole episode.
I think in our next episode we have to also focus on there are persons who didn't go prestige schools, but as time went on, they became successful.
Right?
And there
Yeah.
are those who went through the prestige school and somewhere along the way they
Yeah.
fall off.
Yes, fall away.
Right?
Well,
Because
Kata made
education
mention
is
of
a
the numbers because, for
mhm.
example, over the years, one in prestige schools, one out of every three students would win a scholarship. It's a very high number. One out of three or one out of four, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a numbers game. But in a government school, you will get one in the whole school.
True.
So
Right.
what we're saying is that we're not saying that people cannot succeed in any school. We're saying in terms of numbers and the rate of success and the percentages of scholarships and so on. You know.
And well, Travis say, well, how we feel about people coming in to play football? Well, dog, if they are
Dog,
doing me, I win the tackle. So thank Lord, just do it,
Yeah,
right?
that's
you guys, we have to talk about the Gasparilla. The
but
Gasparilla youth
But
beating up
it's
side
very
in Europe,
true.
right?
It's very true that the way that it's become like almost like this kind of stratified thing with that kind of club mentality. Again, we could talk about it next thing. So let's look at one of the last
Yeah,
episodes we had.
Travis
Hmm.
talking about that, but it have big club in Europe taking Gasparilla boys. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what's the point in
Well, we
making?
see. Well, you see,
What's
yeah,
the
but
point?
that's a club. It's not a school. No, right? Um, we see our boy Julian. Boy, you see the man beat
Foot,
Real Madrid.
football is football. Yeah,
Trinidadian player Keston,
yeah,
Torian.
Yeah, you gotta sweat. You gotta sweat.
Dog,
yeah.
the
The man
man, the
Madrid
play.
ain't
man
good.
beat Real Madrid. The man was on the
The
side that
man
beat
was
Real
on the
Madrid.
field. The man
Madrid ain't
play.
good.
The man beat Real Madrid. The man playing for the sheriff.
Yeah, I
Shakhtar,
know.
Shakhtar victory is
Real
a big
Madrid did
victory.
not shut the sheriff at the
Shak,
end of
yeah,
that
something
match.
will be good.
Shakhtar was a big win too.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's true.
You know.
Now, let's start off with this. This thing about the last. Let's go from the earlier episodes that we had our guest Graham Jones from Rescott off the grid, which was about pretty much solar energy, renewable energy. And I mean, we have our boy Travis in the comments there, so he could lay the facts on us because he is also from
That
solar
feels.
energy company, renewable energy company, Travsol. And what would you say was some of the main things that came out of that discussion, Torian, that you think was eye opening when
So,
it comes?
well, it was eye opening to me that we actually this far ahead in utilizing renewable energy in Trinidad and Tobago. I actually thought it was non-existent, to be honest. So to hear that there is a company that is clearly like they're on the way up, and there are others like it, that was actually that the most pleasantly surprising thing to find out in that episode, and clearly, like, I also appreciated that they have a foundation, and they brought the renewable energy to that family in need because they were living pretty much off the grid, and so that was quite impressive to me. But because it was generally a shock, like I didn't know that renewable energy was so far ahead in Trinidad and Tobago right now.
Well, it's there. It's there, and it can be utilized, and it is becoming more and more integrated into home systems. Like, people mightn't do their whole thing solar, but they want to do their water heater.
Like
You
a hybrid.
understand? And this kind of thing. But
So
again,
let me ask to the guests. I'm going to go Ramu first. So, as I guess first thing, you have any renewable energy set up in your home right now?
Just LED bulbs I'm using, so.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Not to start somewhere.
Is that something that, as a general person, as a member of the public, and this is for Manny too, is this something you see as viable and something that you would take up within your household?
Well, yes, two things. As TNTech has subsidized rates, a lot of us wouldn't really move to do renewable energy. We got comfortable with subsidized rates. When those rates change, because remember the government through the RIC kind of reviewing TNTech rates, and there's rumors. Well, every time budget around, there's rumors.
Every time.
Yeah, every time. So if rates do go up, we might look at renewables. And then from the episode, what I began to realize too is that there are a lot of families in Trinidad that don't have electricity, and to even plant a pole from the nearest area is all kind of $5,000-6,000, probably even more. And then end up plant many poles just to run the wiring, just to get electricity to your house. So these companies that are available now, I think that is a good, and these families could now have an opportunity to have electricity.
Nice. Manny, would you take up renewable energy? Because clearly cost is a factor.
But these days we're getting out of high winds.
That's true.
Dog, we get in dog, the wind different,
Well, I see some houses in the neighborhood with solar panels. I am willing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Marabella. Yeah. I know some people have their water heaters.
Hook up.
The solar water heaters. So I am open for it because it really, I mean,
so would it? So like,
I like Ramoo, I have the bulbs. I have the TNTech
the LEDs.
Ramoo, you got your 4 bulbs?
The LED and some little fluorescent bulb, and I cool with that for now.
Right. Yes, Dorian. Yes, sir.
So it's not enough climate change and the benefits is not enough for you to change then? It's really and truly the financial aspects that would be the motivating factor for you at this point?
Yeah, well, money, we have to take money into consideration. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And cost factor. Right now, the TNTech bill is not so bad. So
it's not so bad, so we can deal with it.
So
we are actually the lowest rate in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we are the lowest rates in the Caribbean. So that is why the government, so the government is like, okay, it's time to raise the rates. Obviously, they wouldn't say that. They have to do a preamble to get the population comfortable, a lot of PR, and then they will increase the rate. The question is when.
I'm all for the solar water heaters and the solar panels, and I think there's a good idea. There's a good way to go. There's a good way to go. Yeah. Electric cars. I mean, they're not necessarily renewable, but
and there are a lot of people now who are going into that industry. The market is growing. It's not something that people might say, as Dorian say, he doesn't know about it in its existence in Trinidad. So you see in Graham there, but there are a lot of other people who are involved in
Fed Mohammed selling the solar water heaters and thing,
Yeah, and as I would always pick up my boy in the comments, you see here he's spitting the hot fire there, right? So when they're ready for the water heater, I'll check him. Watch him there.
Promote
right?
like that.
Yeah, no, but it's good things. We have to promote these things because because you're looking at the bigger picture. you're looking at the bigger picture, and the move to depend less on the non-renewable resources, which we, here we just do as if it got never done, like Wassa water, right? That's the next thing too. We don't realize, in time to come, water might become a scene, Men is just be
Well,
had the water that's running.
Running.
There's a water
Washing
wasting down by
the
them.
front driveway.
They
well,
tank a hole in
all
it, all kind of
resources, I
thing.
guess. All
And
resources.
when I'm tank
Yeah.
when the thing's falling over and thing,
The
it's me.
float, yeah, the float,
Yeah.
the float just inside there, it's stick, the water
Yeah.
running, and nobody
Mhm.
care to fix it. And even if you
Nah.
complain to Wassa not coming.
Because the water could never done. It's wasa.
Yeah.
That water gonna be a
It's
scene.
unlimited. You
Water
understand?
gonna be a scene.
Yeah, but water is becoming a scene in other nations, like
Yeah,
big time.
it coming soon.
Yeah.
It coming soon. I'm very fortunate to be in Canada, one of the most largest
Well, plenty
resources
ice.
of water,
Plenty ice.
plenty ice, and
Yeah.
so I just kind of just waiting for them to set up some army base around the water to keep my water supply safe.
Yes, Mr. Andre Gobaran. Good evening. Good evening. So, what our next thing? Since you was on water, let's talk about the people want water, right?
Yeah. Must talk about the water, Lord.
Dog, but it have the privatizing of the water supply that's starting to happen in certain places.
Yeah, that what tell you, water will be a scene just now.
Yeah.
Right
People
now,
making moves to privatize water.
right, and even in a lot of those stock exchanges have water ETFs where people banking on the price of water to go up because they know that there's going to be water wars in time to come. So we're wasting water and we're laughing it off, but there's going to be a time where it's going to have water wars. There's going to be a shortage.
And that is real
Yeah,
dystopia.
even the dryer. I try my best not to use the dryer because the sun's so hot. I
Yeah, throw it on the on the banister.
On the line.
Wait telling yourself.
I throw
Put
it
behind your fridge.
online.
It was behind your fridge.
I dry
Fridge
it
still come
online.
with coil these days. Me, I see a fridge with coil in forever.
Yeah, you find out old Admiral, man. We must throw some clothes behind the fridge.
Should still have coil, man.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, I am accustomed. I use
Now
my dad.
moving from the people want water to who blocking the traffic, let it go. All right? Traffic in TNT with Ray Fulong was a really, really good episode. It just flew. You understand? It was just flowing because Leslie bring he boy, and it was just hot fire because that is a man who just learned in the scene. Now, he mightn't have the most fans, right? Because he would be involved in so many different projects that people might watch and be like, huh, them is the men do this and thing. But I mean, you have to give Jack the jacket. The man know thing, right? And when he fight up the share screen and thing that when we got around from that, the things that he showed us and thing, the basics, like what was it? What you call it? A kind of flow chart kind of thing. I study math.
Yeah, flow chart.
The graph. It was really really cool to see how they come up with the concept for the roadways, the pathways, and all of that. But Torian, I know he was taking him in, with great vigor. What were some of the standout things from that episode of Dr. Ray
This
Fulong?
one again. Typical Trinidadian thing. Somebody have a good idea, take it to the relevant authorities, get blank, go somewhere else, and get accepted. That is the most frustrating thing. Like, why in Trinidad we so short-sighted? Ramoo, I see you clapping. Like you agree with me.
I agree with you 112.5% plus VAT. Because you have good ideas, you take it to the government, they say, nah, they will do something else. And even if a government decides to take up your idea, if the government change, they will say, nah, that is not a good idea because that is an idea from the previous government. It's a corruption, we have to audit it, and that is the end of that idea. And that is how we go in all the time. So a lot of good ideas either never get off the ground or just go down the drain.
Just go down the drain. Typical Trinidad thing. Why is the root of that, you think? You as a man, kind of, I know you're not transportation, but being
I think it's just rooted in our politics. And I think our politics in Trinidad, well, that's another topic by itself, but our politics in Trinidad pretty much have gotten a bit toxic. We
enables
see
it.
we see everything through a racial and and a lesser extent a religious lens. So okay, Kamla might have a good idea, but because it's Kamla, we have to shut it down. PNM, they might have a good idea, just because it's PNM, we have to shut it down. And that is how we going along since independence, and that is and we not really progressing. But on the flip side, the people like it, so we
I
just
also
People
go
like
to
it.
that.
I also
We
think
like
that
it, so
we don't really have that respect for people who are authorities on the subjects. If you notice, like when you look at people who have roles, they tend to give people very important roles who are unqualified for it, and that lends to the fact that you're not really there to really solve that problem. You're really there to kind of work the flow of things to help certain people for certain agenda and thing and thing and
right.
thing, right? Because if you really wanted to fix certain things, your ministry would be run by somebody who know that thing that he's supposed to be ministering. You know what I mean? And they don't really have that because again, politics and the agendas and thing. Money, tell me when you think about the traffic people have to go through to go and work in town, and that is a normal thing. Okay, he's work town. Wake up around half past 3 and thing. I
Oh,
wake up,
Past three.
yeah, normal, yeah.
Pressure.
Get ready and thing. Then what
well,
you see?
well, with the advent of C3 and South Park and so on, I barely venture onto the nation's highways, you know. So
Right?
these
Because you're
people
not
who,
walking tongue, so you get everything. It
you
sounds.
know,
I tell you.
I don't even have to go check on us, right? So, but these people they get up and they go in the dark and they spend 2 hours and 2.5 hours in traffic. And the thing about it is that is their norm.
That's the norm.
That's their job is in tongue. And of course, for example, right, a teacher, a teacher in San Fernando will get a job in Port of Spain, and a teacher in Port of Spain will get a job in San Fernando.
Normal.
Normal. Normal. But if
Normal.
that's where the opportunities are, you can vex for that.
But there's no any
That
opportunity now, dog. It's like they will just watch a scene and say, okay, today we need somebody in school in point X. Who next on the list? Okay, they live in next side of the island. Small thing. Yeah, send them. We had that. We had that for you. We had that for you. You see, I say, all you have for me? That is all we have for you. Take it or leave it. A day. Right?
that is how that is work.
You could have
But
somebody
it
living
had to
next door
be.
at school.
It
Somebody
had
could
to
be living
be.
next door at school and they
It had
You
to
can't
can't
get
take
a
be
in that school. They send you across the island.
simple things, dog.
Well,
But
And the way the
yeah,
economy is too,
electrification. I
will
know it's
take
really
it down.
bad. I know the water taxi help out a lot of people. A lot of people started using it, but the traffic is still there because people still want to have the comfort of being in their car, whether it's in traffic or not. They have their cold breeze, they have their radio, you know.
Right.
So
it's true.
that's
It's
how
true.
it
yeah,
goes.
and this is the thing now. The amount of cars we have, and then with the foreign news market and thing, and the nation
Hello,
roads
hello,
can't
hello,
handle
hello,
it.
hello. Easy on the foreign news market. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I know. I saying, well, with the
It's
foreign
part of
news
the
market, we
problem,
have
though. It's part of the
access. We have
problem.
access. No, well, I can't knock the market because I mean, when you
They
look at
fill
what
the
is being
void.
charging for a car in the firm Linton, I mean, a car in the firm ain't no normal thing now, boy. And it doesn't give you all the things that's supposed to come with the car. They just talk to Japan and say, take out all of that now. Let them pay for extra thing to get them thing now. Don't let them get all that one time too now, boy. Right? So
Ramu, I know you was going to say something there. What was going to tell me?
No, it's just that how in we have if you have where the economy is right now,
yeah,
and if the job is if you live in Port of Spain and your job is in San Fernando and
yeah,
things tight with job, you will have no choice but to take it.
yeah.
Take it.
yeah, well, we
Definitely,
understand that.
definitely,
Yeah.
Even
definitely.
if you have to fight through the traffic, you have to
Yeah.
fight through vehicles not roadworthy, but they run in taxi, PH, all the dangers involved, especially traveling late in the night, in the evening, you will have to take it just because you want to earn a dollar.
You have to.
Mhm.
But what is sad is this thing that has become the norm. And you just wonder why Trinidad has so much crazy scenes playing off, dog. Imagine a big chunk of the population. They spend, they wake up at an ungodly hour, go through a set of traffic,
Yeah.
reach town, leave the town, go through a set of traffic, go
If
home,
rainfall,
right? If it's a flood and thing in town, well, it's our next whole thing, right? It's water will. Now, and then you rinse and repeat that for the 5 days.
I really missed the episode. Though. What exactly, if you could say in a nutshell, what exactly was one of the solutions that he put forward? You can't say it in
Rearranging.
a nutshell.
No, you can't really say that in a nutshell, but he was like basically like not reallocating resources per se, but he was
Mm-hmm.
like actually putting things in place to have proper studies done and have these studies um, enacted, the results from these studies enacted.
Oh, okay,
Because I
okay.
remember you
Well,
saying
yeah,
you do actually have a,
you
this is
should do
probably the
research
wrong
this, of
term,
course. Yes. Mm-hmm.
but a traffic management
Mm-hmm.
group or department in Trinidad and Tobago. There's probably
But
the
he,
wrong
yeah.
words, don't quote me, but he was saying,
I'm
I
sure
remember
he
like when I
didn't.
was,
I'm sure he didn't attack the foreign news people because
he did
I
though,
mean,
he did call them out. Now I'm telling you, it's part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's part of the problem. It's okay. It's okay. I ain't gonna
Torian,
call your name.
Andre say, but that's how it is all over the world. So let me ask you, what time people is usually have to wake up to get to work
no,
in
I'm sure the problem
in
can be
city?
alleviated, not solved totally, but it could. I'm sure it could. We could make the problem better. I'm sure somehow.
Yeah.
True, true, true.
Yeah, Torian. Let me
Uh,
let me address Andre concern there, but that's
You
how
want
it is all
everybody
over
on
the world.
bicycles?
no, but you put things in place. He pointed out that the priority bus route, utilize the priority bus route properly. He said that what was also another thing from that episode was that when it was first introduced, the
The bus
priority
route is a big
bus route
thing.
was a marvel in the
Yeah.
transportation world. We were the trendsetters when it comes to that, at moving people, having a dedicated space, roadway, whatever you want to call it, at moving people. So people used to marvel at that. And he was saying, like, currently as it stands, you need to remove people from that priority bus route because it not making no sense in the current setup. So you're right, it's not just for news, whatever, there's lots
Yeah.
of things to take place, but he there, it's just a lot. It is a lot that we have to
Yeah. Well,
change along like
Andre,
that.
leave home dark and come home dark. Oh
So
God.
yeah, Torian, let me hear the general people getting up and thing in Toronto and thing.
Well, yeah, people just get up early. Yes, there's traffic.
What time? What time?
But it depends when you have to go to work. You have the 9 to 5 crew. But the thing is, it also have lots of options though. You had the GO train, you had the subway, you had your car. Who could bike or
So
bike?
ballpark this for Torian,
Yeah,
right? The average person who working in this in a busy place like Toronto,
dog.
and they had to get to work for 8 o'clock. Or let me say it's 9 or 9 to 5, which is a normal thing. 8 to 4 is turned out 9 to 5 is it. If you're working for 9 o'clock, what time you getting up?
So this is what you don't understand. The amount of people that come in the tunnel.
Well, let me get three average now. A man who does drive, a man who does travel, and a man who does just teleport.
You know, kind of drive in the city. Okay.
Africa?
So let
Now
me
you just
say,
ballpark now. Give you a little thing now.
dog. It depends where you're coming from. Now, I'm trying to tell you.
Okay,
When
distance.
people just come from, so that Port of Spain to let me say Sando to Port of Spain to Sando route, it have that not even that far, and you don't have to wake up. People coming from further distance, and you don't have to wake up as early in the morning to deal with
It's
that.
ridiculous, Dan. It's
It's
ridiculous. Now I
like
understand
And
Andrew's
they have
point, right?
options.
I
Yeah.
understand
yeah,
Andrew's
you have
point because that is the
options.
world of work. The world
Like
of work is a grimy thing. You get the hell up and you get going. But
yeah, so that 401, he talking about the 401. 401 is
Mhm.
true. It's most it is the most traveled highway in the world. Um, real accidents, real traffic, and but that is a real like that. It is the norm. That situation is the norm for a lot of people to travel a very short distance. It takes a very long time. So like my partner, the distance is maybe like 20 kilometers, 20 something kilometers. She will take 40 minutes to reach work. And that is prime time traffic leaving home 7 o'clock to reach work for 8. So she'll reach like by 7:40, 7:45, them kind of thing. So it really depends like me on the other hand though, I work in the opposite direction. So there was a point in time where I could reach work in 17 minutes, no problem. Breathing on a
Normal,
busy highway too, like QEW.
normal.
So it really depends. And even then as you go along, you wait a little bit later, the traffic will build up. But nah, you have real options. And I'm not saying it's the best, but the options are there if you really need it, which
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
Good night, Valmiki. What you telling me, self? You telling me, self? Get there, right? Get there. Get there, right? Get there. Um, Let me see. See, say if I wake up 7 a.m., I could reach and work 9 a.m. living and working in Toronto and taking public transit. Wake up 7, reach for 9. And I mean, hopefully you could take a good bathe and thing and sing and thing in your shower and thing,
Yeah,
hopefully.
he leaving by
Right?
8. And seats I sure he taking, he might take bus right through actually.
Tidy
That's
boss man.
closest. I
Yeah.
ain't know if he hitting the subway. But you know where he's walking now anyway. So I
What
can't
is
say
called
nothing
what
about
is called the train in Toronto, the metro?
the TTC, that's the name of the Toronto Transit Commission. So just say
Okay,
TTC.
okay. The TTC.
Yeah.
All right, all right, all right. Well,
And
here
the
we have
ID, and here there's the IDB tool, Trinidad and Tobago. We're not going to help you finance any rapid rail. If you want to modify your transportation, the bus rapid transit, you could do that. But rapid rail off the table.
Because I think the doc was saying that rapid rail ain't gonna really work anyway, you know, because
Mm-mm.
of where you would have to place the stops and things of that nature. Like you still end up having to drive or travel or get there, so it almost didn't make no sense. So I guess they not funding that was probably a wise decision.
Yeah.
And then they
Or
probably know all the
Anderson.
corruption that would take place too on top of that.
Understand.
Yes. Extra 1 billion had to go in somebody's pocket.
Exactly.
How rapid is rapid? Can I reach to Port of Spain from San Fernando in 10 minutes? How rapid is rapid?
I have no clue. That's a good
Yeah.
question.
You know?
Well, I
Well, I
mean,
guess it'll be kind of like how long do water taxis take? I read it once.
An
but I don't
hour.
remember.
45 minutes.
An hour.
45. Sorry, I never
45, I
meant.
think. 45, yeah.
45, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it might be something similar. I don't find that bad because if I sit
Is
down
that
and somebody
cruise?
driving me,
Is that
reading papers, whether it's boat or train, I
Yeah,
comfortable.
anything under hour good. Yeah. Now when I go in, and then it have men like me who going against traffic, but it's just real distance now. But when you go in point in the morning, it's just distance, dog. But anyway, there's a whole next thing like gas and I pothole. So so but so Anderson, big up yourself, man. Long time. To be honest, POS traffic ain't as bad as it used to be 10 years ago. I guess that's because they take away the traffic lights and stuff. They do a lot of work and our runways and thing, and they get rid of all those things. You
My
know what I mean? So
grandmother, yeah.
yeah,
The
they did.
interchange. Yeah.
Now, if
Yeah.
you leave UE, there's no traffic light until Port of Spain. If you leave UE, not so?
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you leave UE traffic light, there's no traffic light until you reach into like sea lots
No
area.
way, bro. All
Did
that
they
traffic
remove-
light in St. Augustine and thing not there no more?
From UE St. Augustine is the first one you'll get until like Grand Bazaar. Grand Bazaar have nothing. Grand Bazaar they have nothing. Curep have nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the crab
Wow.
interchange, right.
Correct interchange, yeah. And I
Right.
think they removed the traffic lights by Val Park, I guess. Yeah.
Just pull up hashtag
Yeah, you talking
comment
sense,
there.
but the whole thing does never fit on the screen.
There has been a notable, and in his opinion, unnecessary push by the government to populate the nation's capital with all of the public sector offices.
Yeah, that's true.
You
though.
understand? So,
Centralization.
for example, someone has a job of documents with the MOE. Correct is right. You have to go
You have
up
to
in
go
Port
Port
of
of
Spain. You have to go up Port of Spain. Now, yes, you have your MOE little outposts all over, but to do anything important, yeah, boy, well, we had to send it up MOE
Head
Port of
office.
Spain. You understand? Head office. Yeah, and there's one of the problems and there's archaic things too. But the future.
But when you say unnecessary push, it makes it sound like it's a recent thing. It has always been like that. But we can't forget that the Ministry,
but no.
of Agriculture is in Shagonas, one big building there.
Yeah, but I know, yeah, and then they have the Caroni, what you call it, the big licensing office
Licensing
and thing in
office,
Caroni,
yeah.
and all these kind of things. But he means unnecessary in the sense that it's really unnecessary at this point in time. Because before we knew how it was that, well, you take your time and you go up in town and you do your things and everything was at a much more slower pace now. You wasn't rushing to send things in the kind of the amount of
Yeah, that's what hashtag says. Yes.
Yeah, the overall turnover and things that happen now, and the fact that we're in a digital world and thing now, it really doesn't make sense that we have to run through all of these things. But we like it so. Somebody building have to get rent. What are you telling yourself, Val?
That's it.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come
what
on.
Val?
You know that he knows. He knows. We
Val must
Caribbean
have 10
Airlines.
billion in Port of
Val
Spain.
have buildings around, it seems, yeah. Had it been.
Caribbean Airlines with Timothy Bailey. He just hail out their money.
Yeah.
How you know Timo?
How I know Timo?
Yeah.
My last name is Bailey.
Say no more.
Big
Say
boy.
no more. Say no more.
Big boy. Big boy.
Yeah. But
Big
I
boy.
wish I could have. I wish I could have gotten an introduction like the introduction I gave Timothy last week. Yeah, I mean, oh gosh.
Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. What more introduction than you are? You framing minds of the nation as an educator. What more?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need
Yeah,
introduction.
Well, we
larger
know whenever
Timothy.
Timothy come on the show is hot fire. That is the
Yeah.
man searching for justice, right?
Don't need
And I got feedback from that episode. Timothy sent me,
Mm.
little tidbits of things that was floating around the sphere. That what people saying. People really, really appreciated that episode. And someone messaged the page tutorial. I don't know if you saw, you
I
know.
missed that one.
And yeah, I saw someone message me and they were so happy for that episode because people don't take it up when they talk about the plight of these workers, And
Mm.
Timothy
Mm.
really is a champion when it
Yeah.
comes to the workers' rights and industrial relations and thing. And it was really when I see the JSC report, it's like, dog, this is crime. This is crime. Right? We're gonna hold our man for now wearing our mask. Hold this man. You understand? Ask this man what going on here. Ask a question. What is going on here? Don't just report on it. Don't just tell me, well, this is what went on. We need to see things happening to
Mhm.
elicit the change that needs to happen in these government run
So
state run agencies.
how
The
we
state
getting
agencies.
how we getting Timothy to join the teachers union now?
Oh well, I mean, you don't have to get him to join. We could get him to come and talk some sense into one or two people there. We just have to set up the meeting. You understand? But
Ramu, what's your thoughts on this whole Caribbean Airlines thing, brother?
What I'm starting to see a lot of people saying that Carl was going the way of is currently following the trend of Biwi. Because since Carl came on, and I believe it was 2005, 2006, they only made profit in 1 year, and that was 2019. And when people was having hope, that is when COVID come. So, and then we have the retrenchment and stuff. So a lot of people are talking about the similarities between Carl and Biwi. And I wouldn't be surprised 5, 7, 10 years from now, Carl goes down the drain and they change the name to something else, because that's what the state usually do. They just change the name, but they don't change the culture. And then it runs like that for another 10, 20 years and repeats.
Right. You think they should scrap a national airline altogether? What do you think of that?
I think we not reached there yet to scrap the airline. I think what the government needs to do is to work together with the unions and all parties. When I mean the government, I don't mean just who in charge right now. What governments in the past tend to do, they tend to make their own decisions and then impose it on the workers. And then when the workers make noise, then you want to do consultation. But what you're doing consultation for, you already made up your mind what you want to do. It's just a courtesy you want to give them. Okay, we'll talk, or we might make a change here, but we already make up our mind what we want to do.
Right.
And that is something that needs to change.
Fair enough. What's your thoughts on this Carl situation there, man?
Well, state-run, another state-run enterprise.
Scrap it. I for scrap
That
it.
seems to have some inefficiencies. So
That-
I mean, when
it
they
is
say
what
scrap
it
it, I mean scrap it and what not have any.
Privatize. Don't let the state run it. Let it be privatized, and let's see how it go from there. Because for me, at least, I know Timo was very much against this, but for me, it's like how you could just sit down and watch this corruption, as Ramu now say. It's the same thing when it was BB, same thing going on for Carl. Why are we letting it continue? Sell it off. People are working right now for corruption and mismanagement. Let our private company take it and deal it, and maybe people might still be in jobs.
Well, that sounds like a solution.
A fair point.
Yeah.
A fair
Yeah,
point.
yeah, fair. Is
But
a
Manny, you know what?
response-
Manny. Oh,
Yeah.
see, you like that dictionary, Manny? You like that dictionary,
Yeah.
But
The response, the response, is a response because
Put it
if there's
up.
an issue, if there's an issue,
That is for those of you who don't know, that's Manny, what's the name of the book in
Yeah.
totality? I forget the actual name of it.
Yeah, Dictionary of the English Creole of Trinidad and Tobago.
So anything you want to find about any kind of old talk, you get any proper definition in that.
Well, yeah. If you have any questions, no, we could look at it.
No, I mean, and I know Manny and too concerned about the air up there because we's more men on the ground now, Manny. You know, with them fellas, them big
We are
boys.
well grounded,
Yeah, we,
down to
yeah,
earth
so
people.
yeah, doctor kind of guys.
Yeah.
Them fellas flying high. But you know, like, fellas, we running up on the market to end in last 10 minutes. Let me talk about the dreadest of the dread now, boy. You know, we could never get enough of this. The vaccine, public safety or personal choice is the name of the episode, where we try to frame both sides of the argument to vax or not to vax. Why not? Dr. Siri Ram, you know, he's a champion of the, you know, I wouldn't say he's an anti-vaxxer, but he's very much against the rollout of the vaccination against COVID-19, especially now that they have been mandating or trying to mandate, well, you know, this whole thing with the schools and saying if children don't go to school, don't vaccinate, they can't go to school and so on. And now you have, well, you know, it's a whole different thing now because now they are saying people need to get the vaccine to go and patronize certain places. So this is a whole development that didn't happen at that point. I'm sure if that had happened and we was having that episode, we'd have a lot more heat because this is where it reached now. This is where people call it, you know, the apartheid and the segregation and all this kind of thing. Now, let me ask all you one time. The safe zones, Ramu, yay or nay?
I'm kind of torn between it, but what an interesting photo that I've seen last night is someone posted up in front of the store, say vaxxed and unvaxxed are welcome. So
Right.
in his mind, he's like, look, you just follow the protocols. If you're vaxxed, good. If you're unvaxxed, just follow the protocols. I will serve you. And when I saw that photo, I say, you know what? I think I will more support on that side of things. I don't like the
I
idea
hear
of,
you.
but then again, too, how far we going to implement this? What after what a month and everything just go back to normal? Who go in and check vax and unvax?
Yeah, just like the SOE. Remember when the
Yeah,
SOE now job, nobody are walking on the road? People walking on
right.
the road whenever, whatever, however, you know, it's a normal thing. It's not like men and bummy and thing about no SOE and thing right now. Money, safe
We just
zone.
think hot and sweaty and then we just
Yeah.
follow.
Well,
So for the people who not sure we're talking about the fact that the minister, well, not the minister, the prime minister has indicated, and the Ministry of Health has indicated that how we'll only be having people who are vaccinated patronizing places which are currently closed when they open up. Cinemas, restaurants, and other such people who are closed right now. Manny, thoughts?
Well, I really like the meme with Bruce Willis and was Mila Jovovich from the Fifth Element, where
And hold up the car.
she had to walk around with a multi-pass.
Yeah.
Multi-pass.
Yeah. So we have to walk around with
Multipass.
multi-pass. Yes.
Fair
So
enough.
Yeah, well, I
yeah,
hope
we
we
have
don't
to
walk around in a white pizza thing going wrong with body and thing
yeah.
too. Manny, we're gonna see if we
So
that
But
part
wait,
too.
but what's
so
this Val talking about here with
um
Fatima? Anybody hear about that?
I
I
saw
know
it on the news. They said it was a hoax or something. I'm not sure, Val.
Okay. Maybe if
And
somebody could
the
send the
principal of
link.
Fatima was interviewed on the news.
About what?
Concerning this about the in the physical classes versus the online classes. So I'm not sure exactly.
Okay. But it has to do with school, with the
Yeah,
vaccine and the school and all that.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah. What did I do?
Now, Torian, how is it there in Canada with vaccine passes and things? Normal. That's
Yeah,
on stream right now. That's on stream.
that's normal. I didn't sign up for the vaccine pass, but when you get a vaccine, they send you a confirmation email, and I had to go somewhere. I just showed them my confirmation email, and it was like, yeah, come through, check your ID, make sure who you is, and that was that. So whoever that people using it, people protesting up here to regular thing. You're getting pockets of that everywhere. So I ain't think anything too crazy, but I remember.
Ooh.
I think I see this. I mentioned this last episode, but when they first say vaccine passport was coming out, a lot of people decided to get vaccinated, sign up for the vaccination. So I guess it had its intended consequence to get people
Well, they
vaccinated.
and now they arrested a man last month for they caught him making fake immunization cards.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way.
That easy
Yeah,
to fake,
yeah,
Right.
dog.
yeah.
That
You
easy to
guys see,
fake.
man.
Men going to fake that like
No
normal. I'm
I when I
way.
telling
saw
you.
the man from Princess Song, when I saw the man, I know Torian from Princess Song, right? A Princess Song man, yeah,
Yes, big up the Prince dog massive.
Yeah, but
yeah.
you're faking that normal,
Because it's a
Dan.
black
You're
and
Okay.
white,
faking
it's a
that
black and
normal.
white
You're faking that
All right,
normal.
I'm now gonna ask you,
And
okay,
edit
what is
print.
the
That's all.
wait,
Yeah,
what is the because my thing black and white too. Let me see if I could
it's a black and
bring
white.
it up here.
It's nothing to
Dan, it is on card that can be faked normal. Especially if you could give it a little bend and look like it was a little worn. You just hit that, print it, cardboardish thing, turn it thing, and sign thing. You're
Exactly.
good to go. You're good to go. You're good to go. You're in the dance. You're seeing Dune. You're going and see Dune. Normal,
So
See,
normal.
I could
Jason
fake
and
the
Bisha made
vaccine.
a very good point. In this hard banger season, who going to deny sales from unvaccinated persons?
Right.
true,
It's
true,
true.
true.
It's
Yeah,
true.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Now, my thing is this, right? My thing is this. That's how. Why was the move made? People go about how is discrimination and segregation. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate, and it's not good. But again, we are dealing with a administration that is looking at things from a perspective that they have to just keep putting in these measures that may not be practical, but they are hoping that it makes people want to go and get vaccinated. They are hoping that
Yeah.
it actually can show that there's
Mm-hmm.
some step being taken. Because let me tell you something. Last time we opened back up without any kind of measure in place, except for a few little, on the ground words about, social distancing, we ended up in a situation we still trying to recover from. So if they go and open up the place now without saying that we have some kind of mechanism in place to say that, oh, well, you can't have everybody out. No, it's not nice. It's not good. But we are living in a very, very trying
Mm-hmm.
time. It's extreme. It's a different world we're living in. And like Ramu said, it's not something that you really want to say, well, yeah, you're pro this. But again, I can understand why there needs to be some measure. Because if not that measure, what is the measure then that the government can say that they're putting in place for this reopening? Because we can't say we just reopening the place and they're just reopening. Because right now the Delta knows how to spread in communities. What we really tell them yourself. You understand? So it's very complicated. It's very complicated. And when we look back at what happened in the episode, Torian, and we heard the views of the two different doctors, what Ramu, did you look at that episode when we had Dr. Sriram and Dr. Rampasad and we spoke about
Yes.
what
And
was
Israel was number one.
what was your main takeaway from the episode, and based on what you heard from both doctors, not saying that how you have to have a side, but what was on earth you could see there?
It is something which I've seen a bit in the health sector. There are a lot of doctors who really don't want the vaccine, and there are some doctors who will take the vaccine. And within that bracket of those persons who take the vaccine, they kind of do it because they're in a healthcare setting. But there are a lot of doctors I shouldn't say just doctors alone, healthcare workers who have doubts about the vaccine. I think there was a number that came out last month that a lot of nurses are still unvaxxed.
Yeah,
Right?
nurses seem to be a
Yeah,
big
but
at least up here. Nurses are big.
that's not so strange though. But I
Why
mean,
not? I find it real strange. I was surprised. The
be,
nurses kind of within the health sector up here at least.
what up?
It's kind of looking like nurses.
What
Not,
about doctors then, Ram? Ram, what is the stats on doctors? Are doctors as unvaxxed as nurses, or the data isn't there?
I've seen no stats, but I know of a few doctors say that they are not taking the vaccine at all.
Right. But the
And
majority
so,
of them would.
right, and then this what is happening in Israel, and how most of Israel vaxxed, and a lot of people are still getting infected. A lot of people tend to quote Israel, what is happening in Israel, a lot. But
I think
it's a very confusing thing, and both sides tend to bring a lot of sources, and it's a term that I've mentioned in that episode that we, in a sea of just people posting articles for against vaccination, look at what happened in Israel, look what happened in the United States, look what's happening in Canada, and for and against, and a lot of people are just in a sea of confusion.
Yeah, what the
But
situation going on because they're telling you you
yeah,
have to take a third and a booster. So when will it
right.
work?
So a lot of people now say, okay, you're running this one shot and done with the Johnson and Johnson, but Johnson and Johnson in the States say, hey, it's looking like we might have to take a booster, you know. And and that is what a lot of people like, okay, when is this actually going to stop? But the good thing, at least, is that with the stats in Trinidad and Tobago, we are coming to that. Is it? Yes, we're coming close to that 500,000 mark of persons fully
Yes, fully
vaccinated,
vaccinated. Yes, I was checking that
and
this
I think
weekend
that
actually. We
and
are
I think
fully
that is a
vaccinated.
bit commendable. A lot of people thought that Trinidadians were just anti-vax. I think it's not so much of anti-vax. People just want choice of vaccines. So
Yeah,
people didn't want the
I
Sinopharm,
agree with that
but
100%.
once AstraZeneca came, you
they
just see
didn't
a lot of
want it.
people went for it. And then when
When
Johnson Johnson came,
when
people went for it,
well
and
when
Pfizer.
the
And
when
the Pfizer
Pfizer
come.
reached, you
Pfizer
know,
Yeah, that was
come.
the big boy thing. Yeah, you know,
country bookie come to tongue. It
yeah,
telling
and they get
yourself
the Pfizer, and they say, yeah, but I get through. If United States taking the Pfizer, I taking that. So imagine if more
Pfizer.
do not come.
I in that.
Yeah,
That was the talk because people was flying out to get the Pfizer. So,
exactly.
now with me, I take
I
my
mean, the
Sino
expire
and
the
I was good with that.
Pfizer that's supposed to expire soon, and they're saying that they may still use it after the expiry date, something like that.
Half price, then half price. Anyway, anyway, um, you know, with all of this, we have to understand that always maintain that when you look at things, the bigger picture of the threat. What is the threat? Manny, what is the threat right now that the government thinking about? Ramu, anybody, what are they worried about when it comes to COVID?
The
What
Well,
they
right
don't
hospitals.
want to
now,
Yeah.
happen. What they don't want to happen. There's
well,
one
right,
thing they don't want to happen.
well, Delta in community spread right now, and a good chunk of the population is unvaxxed. So it's not so much a government; it's more about the healthcare workers because imagine
Hmm.
persons just start to come in now, and
Exactly.
the healthcare
The
workers now
surge, the
will
surge,
have
the
to pour
surge.
all their
Expecting, yeah, I
resources,
expected a surge.
yeah, resources and
Oh,
all their time going behind persons. And then, of
unfortunately.
course, if Delta really start to take shape in Trinidad, you're going to have a mad rush of people all of a sudden going to get vaccines. And it's like, but it have lull moments in time where a lot of vaccination sites were just empty, where it was all the
That
time. What we had to reach a critical stage where people dying in body bags for you to now go and get the vaccine.
so
I
look
mean,
at what
yes,
Andre saying the healthcare being overrun. That is the problem.
right. And I mean, we
Mhm.
get away a bit. We buy time when we get the Sinopharm. A lot of us still pack up and say, nah, me ain't taking that shiny thing. I don't trust that. Okay, we get the
I take it.
AstraZeneca. Okay,
I take
right.
it.
Yeah, you get the Johnson and Johnson. All right, you get the Pfizer. Okay, so you have options now. So when Delta really takes shape, uh, th- that there's the healthcare workers. I know the government will be headache, but I
So
mean, it's the
Options and they
people
make
to
yeah,
try thinking about.
so
but
much of
the
options and
Sorry.
mixing up vaccine. Remember there was a mix up 2 3 months ago. Elderly couple got Astra first shot, and when they went back for the second, it was in the Express. And when they went back for the second shot, they got Sino.
Mhm.
So they have
Yeah,
choices.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I have that wildness. But there is data that shows that if you mix cocktails of vaccine, it ain't go really mess you up, eh? Like it could happen. But I mean, it's not something I want to rush to do. Now, at the end of the day, people, as I was saying, the main problem, and that's what I try to elicit from a panel here, is that how your government, I mean, they mightn't be the sharpest tools in the shed in many ways, but they, like any other government, are looking at the fact that they don't want, and your Ministry of Health, let's say Ministry of Health, they don't want the hospital system to crash, right?
exactly.
And the reason we are having the vaccination drive, although the vaccine is not perfect, although the vaccine is something you have to choose and you should make your own choice, the reason that we have it is because it is some form of protection against not really the virus, but protecting the society from a healthcare crash. You understand? It is not the virus. Yes, the virus could still, you can still get it, you can still spread it. And we know that this is a real thing that people saying, well, there's not a vaccine and thing. Because it is an emergency situation, my people. You understand? But at the same time, we still have to have the different narratives. We still have to have different sides of the argument present in our discussions, because if we don't, then we will not be able to reach to some point of understanding. Although that may seem far away. All right. But
It
we don't
is.
want to we don't want to end up where people outside quarreling about the children wearing masks. Let me don't reach to that point. All right, guys. Let me don't reach to that point. All right. I think we can reach that point. But with that being said,
Mhm.
um, I want to thank Mr. Ramu, Mr. Singh, and Mr. Linton
Yeah, good to
for
see
your
you,
time
Ramon.
tonight. Yeah, it's
Same
good
here.
to see. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been a long time. Been a long time.
for those of you who don't know, Mr. Kyron would have sat in Mr. Singh's class at some point, you know.
Really?
Maybe he wasn't really our teacher, but he would have a supervision once or twice
Yeah,
or
Yeah,
something.
supervision.
supervision.
You know, it would have happened. You know, it would have happened. But we were all students at one point under the tutelage of Mr. Singh. Maybe not in literature class, but you know. Um, so that being said, it's
It's been
always
a
good
while.
to
I can't
reconnect.
remember, but
But I know that, yeah. Well, I mean, it's 20 years of no money,
it's 20
right?
years. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for
Thank you
inviting me, and
guys.
and
Yeah,
thank
it's
you
good
guys
to
for
have you.
sparing me the political questions. I just wanted to,
Nah, we on a time for them politicians
yeah, I
here.
just wanted to highlight that the narrative is changing concerning the C exam, and it's not a perfect exam, and
But
we straight,
we will have a focused episode on
Yeah,
it,
yeah. I think we
and
should.
you'll be back there for that for sure, money.
it's so wide
And
ranging, and yeah,
yeah, and then well, Ramu, the honorable, he wetty beak tonight, so he'll be back. We know he'll be back when we have in our episodes,
we need a primary
right?
school teacher,
We
we need
do,
a
we
primary
do.
school
But
teacher.
you have the links. You have the links. So I will leave that in your hands. So guys, everybody need comments. Then dollar and a butter knife. Um, we want to thank you all for your time. And well, for those of you who are tuning in tonight, I'm running a little show tomorrow with the alumni. It'll get on the Future and Apps page. So I want to beg about one time. I know we
Good
have
luck, Doctor.
we have
You know
a
we
panel
voting for you.
announcement
You
tonight.
saying it right
Well,
here, Bull and
yeah, well, well, we have to all try to step up at some point and do something. People will say, well, where you was all the time. Well, I here now, and that's why
Well,
important. All
too
right.
right,
bad,
so
too bad Torian can't vote.
yeah.
I wonder why is I am not able to vote.
Well, I mean, guys,
Is that Costco card for you?
when hopefully constitutional reform can take place, because if we could start it in one area, we could reach at the top with it as well. You know what I
That's
mean?
it.
We have to start changing things from in a microcosmic way to really make a bigger change in the society. People, we have to end this kind of normal the norm of where the old thinking has to always be the way that things have to be done. There's a time and a place for things, and when your time done. But we'll see how it goes. A crime care done. Anyhow, big up all yourself. From all of us here in the Heights Room,
Yeah.
good
Blessings.
night. Blessed love.
Good night.
Blessings.
Later. Yeah.